Hey, Luke. Thank you so much for joining me today. I thought Follow Her was amazing, the movie and your performance. Jumping kind of right in, what kind of drew you to this particular project?
Well, I love the character of Tom. I thought he was so enigmatic and interesting, and it gave me the chance as an actor, which you very rarely get, to play multiple characters in one movie rather than, just the straight down the line, same person. He's kind of an actor all throughout it and always conniving, to ruin the life of the girl played by Danny Barker. So I loved the multifaceted character of him.
Yeah, absolutely. And I know when I was talking to Danny and Sylvia, they said that you did a lot of ad-libbing. Is that something you normally like to do with your characters, if
Um,
given the
I
chance?
it depends, you're not going to walk onto a certain sets, like a Sorkin set or a not that I've ever worked with Sorkin, but you're not going to walk on, you're not going to ad lib. You're going to be kind of handed everything. But Sylvia and Danny both liked the idea that I could ad lib and add little me isms in, and they were into us all figuring it out together. It was a very collaborative process. I remember like the last week of shooting, us all sitting down and really trying to figure out what this script was about. Like we was because we were figuring it out so much as we went, and finding new things in it and realizing, you write a script and you don't actually realize what it's about until you start making it, and then you realize what it's about when you start editing it. But it was very collaborative, and so I was very appreciative of the ability to ad lib, like you said.
Yeah, and when I was talking to Danny, it was kind of cool because she was saying how, you know, um, with all the ad libs, it kind of always kept her a little bit off balance, which I think works for the character. And I think as an audience member, I definitely felt always a little off kilter, which was great.
Yeah, that's good. We watched it the other night, me and my wife, and she felt the exact same way. She was like, "I'm aroused by you and also scared of you," and I was like, "That's it. That's exactly what I was going for."
Yeah, that's I can see that. Yeah, no, it's great, and it's kind of funny because when I was talking to Danny and Sylvia, they were like, "Oh, some at times it's very Jim Carrey-esque," and then when I showed it to my husband the other night, he's like, without any prompting, mind you, he was like, "Yeah, this is like very Jim Carrey, circa the '90s, and I love it."
Yes, think of the
Um,
'90s is like Cable Guy. It's like
mm,
because Cable Guy was in a way not not similar to the character, but he's coming for Matthew Broderick, right? He's like coming for him in that movie. It's one of my favorite movies, and I certainly wasn't thinking about Jim Carrey as I was performing it, but now that you mention it, I'm like, yeah, okay, that's in there.
and yeah, and not a bad thing. So I guess that's a nice little segue into my next question, which was, did you base this character off of any particular person or character, or was this just all something that you kind of dug up yourself?
It was very much within me, and I think the way that it was written, as mentioned in this, that's what he's up to up until later. But I wanted to make that as clear as crystal. Like this guy is not. This guy is out for revenge. He's either been hired to seek revenge, or he is seeking it on his own accord. And I just wanted to make it very clear, because sometimes these things aren't clear. You go, "What is this person wanting?" I go, "There's one thing that this guy wants, and he wants to ruin her life."
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think it's such an interesting parallel because this movie, of course, talks about social media and how being an influencer is a very double-edged sword. And you're kind of a TikTok star now, so I think that's kind of did you find that like as an interesting parallel to like maybe your real life?
Yeah, I mean, I do find it interesting, and I feel like this movie is very right now. Like privacy, and with OnlyFans being as big as it is, Not that I'm on it. I'm just saying it's similar to what Danny's character is up to. You know, tickling guys, filming it, ASMR, things like that. I feel like it is very right now. I mean, I do feel like you, when you're an influencer and you have a large following, you do have to be responsible about the things that you post. You have to be cautious about what you say about other people. And you have to be cautious about making judgments about other people online, because people will come for you.
Yeah.
And you know, I've had a few experiences where, you know, just cracking a joke that I thought was fairly harmless, people were so upset about it that they would call my employee, or my employer, sorry.
Wow.
And you go, well, it's just a joke, and it was harmless, but people didn't find it to be that way. And so we're living in interesting times. But if you're an influencer and even if you just have a voice on the internet, you don't even have to be an influencer. You do have to be responsible. And that's what Danny's character messes up. She's not responsible. She goes for the views and the likes, and she goes for the clout. She doesn't go for what is the right thing to do. What is what's my responsibility? And so, yeah, this is a story about what you're back. If you're going to come for people and you're going to go for the views and the likes, be careful.
Yeah, absolutely. And I was also kind of curious, I want to keep it really vague for spoiler sake, but like, when things kind of escalate between you and Danny's character Jess, when it has to get real physical, was that something that you and Danny kind of talked a little bit about before actually kind of going into like some of the more intense like physical stuff? I mean, obviously not actually physically harming her, but just like talking about like working that out, I guess, beforehand.
Yeah. Well, there is this whole scope of physicality in the movie, you know, where we're sexual with each other. There's foot play, and then there's stuff that's a bit more violent. Luckily, the violence was towards the end of shooting, so we could kind of build a friendship and a trust that was, if that's so important for shooting scenes like that. The sexual stuff, on the other hand, we shot that on the first day, or a lot of that stuff on the first day, like the foot stuff and all that. I mean, again, spoilers, but whatever. And I remember feeling uncomfortable. We talked about it, definitely. I wasn't uncomfortable in the sense that I felt like I could make a complaint. I was just like, oh, we just met each other, and now you're going to, and now we're going to be doing this. But this is the way of the actor. This is the life of the actor. So yeah, you always have to, as an actor, and if you ever feel like you aren't talking about it enough, you can always ask questions, stop and say, here's where I'm cool with going, and here's where I'm not cool with going. And that was always very talked about. And luckily, when you have a great friend, like I was friends with Dani, that we created a great friendship, it kind of goes without saying, but you say it anyway.
Nice. Yeah, so it sounds like everybody just kind of made it a great environment to really be able to, play and push boundaries, but still in a very safe kind of space.
Exactly. I mean, it is a risky movie, and it is a risky, things happen in it that are risky. So it's very important to build relationships with the people around you and have fun, because in the end, that's what this is about. And I think this movie is really fun, if nothing else.
Yeah, it's a great time. It's I watched it twice, and it's so funny because it's one of those great movies where I'm like, okay, I watched it once and then I watched it twice, and I'm like, oh, okay, I'm picking up on little things, like little clues. Now that you kind of know the ending a little bit.
Yeah, especially at the start, the first 10 minutes or so, there are things that are going to come back later, and I actually have to go back and watch it again for my second time, because I only watched it for the first time on Friday night. And I was watching it as a critiquer, and my wife was just enjoying it. And when she finished, she was like, Luke, I think that's the best thing that I've ever seen you in. And I was like, I was pumped to hear that, but I was also like watching it as a critique and going, wow, what's going on here as a critic? And then I need to watch it again, because there are things that they did in editing and that I had no idea that they would do, that was, just they plant seeds at the beginning that ended up fulfilling themselves at the end.
Yeah, and it's something that I really gave Sylvia and Danny a lot of praise because I see so many movies where the setup is really, I think, tortured. I think that there's a lot of like filler, and I think that this movie works so well because it is so efficient in its plot. It's so lean, and with somebody that like I only have X amount of time in my day to watch movies, so when something can just get to the point
Yeah.
and have me thoroughly entertained, it's something I appreciate.
I literally watch movies now, and when I see efficient story time, like efficient storytelling, I even like orally say like, "Wow, that was great." Like I watched Nobody the other night. You know that Bob
Yeah.
Odenkirk movie?
Uh-huh.
The first 5 minutes is like story, 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 and it tells you exactly who this person is, exactly what's going on in his life, the monotony in 5 minutes, and I audibly went, "Yes," because I was like, "Thank you." Don't labor in telling me what's going on. Just tell to me. You can do it very quickly. If you can, you're a really talented storyteller.
Yeah, like I think like the whole cold open is so brilliant because it tells you kind of like that in the credit sequence. I think does such a great way of world building in such a short amount of time. And
Mm-hmm.
um, again, I one of the joys of the movie was watching you perform and watching you and Danny work together. Like I think the chemistry was just so off the charts. And had you met her prior to this, or this was like your first kind of getting to know her?
No, no. When I arrived on set, we'd met before. We'd met months earlier in New York and had chatted about the script. But then in the end, as I said, we just became good friends, and that's just so important. I mean, it's not so important because you hear about all these, famous, nemesis relationships in Hollywood of people making great stuff together despite their relationships. But me and Danny were thankfully friends, which made it much more comfortable to enjoy each other and enjoy the process of making a fun movie.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, I take it you two would work again in the future.
I mean, there's talk of a follow her too, or a sequel to follow up with this movie. And look, if they would have me back, I mean, are you kidding me? I'd be back. And yeah, but also, this has come from her mind. She wrote this thing. And as I mentioned before, like it wasn't fully fleshed out yet. We were discovering as we went, but it's all from her mind in a huge way. She's a talent.
Yeah, absolutely. And her script is brilliant. I loved your little bit of ad libs. Like the line that kind of cracked me up was when she's at the piano and she's like, "Oh yeah, my mom and she was a pianist," and you're like, "Your mom and her penis?" Like that's um
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
it's the inner 8-year-old in me had me cracking up. My husband thought it was pretty hilarious too. The Karl Lagerfeld line also was hilarious. Was that one of yours? Your ad?
Definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was definitely not in the script, and nor was the penis line either. But yeah, those are the moments when I'm ad-libbing, where it's like, there's no way somebody wrote that in the script.
And to Danny's credit, she rolls with it so well. Like it's so seamless. Like part of me when I was my initial review, I always take a bunch of notes and like I couldn't tell if that was just again some improv or just a really I mean because the whole script is so brilliant that I feel like everything felt so seamless that it could have been in the script.
Yeah,
So.
yeah.
By the way, you're a Laurel and Hardy fan? I see your thing in the background.
I mean, they're my inspiration in so many ways. Like as a kid, I would just watch Flying Deuces on repeat. And now I don't know how my wife has allowed this picture to be in our bedroom, but because they don't exactly inspire eroticism. But there they are.
Yeah, no, that's great. I'm a big fan. Like I feel like part of me feels like I was born maybe in a wrong time period. I love old movies. Well, you can see I hate movies, right?
Yes.
But no, that's great. Yeah, no, it's kind of funny because again, you bring that kind of energy and fun even to some like very vile characters. So I think, I can definitely see the parallel between those sort of like comedy teams of the past kind of reflected in some of that. Which is great. And like I said, a little bit of Jim Carrey thrown in there for good measure. So
That's what I'd be happy to be Laurel Hardy slash Jim Carrey. That sounds pretty good to
there
me.
you go. That's a good combo.
Yeah.
Yeah, gosh. So, wrapping up, because I don't want to keep you all day, but what would you say you would want the audience to kind of take away from this movie? Like, do you think that there's kind of a message that you hope people would get out of this?
Yeah, it's it's the internet will always the internet will fight back if you don't treat it properly. And we all know that to be true. I mean, cancel culture is kind of a result of the internet. It's not a result of, it didn't happen in the 90s. Be responsible with your internet use. Be responsible about what you do on the internet, because the internet doesn't forget, and the internet can come for you. So it's kind of a scary one. It's kind of a, careful. It's a bit that.
Yeah. No, that's great. Again, gosh, this was so much fun. The movie's fantastic. I thought your performance, you and Danny, were just amazing. It's always really fun as a critic and a film lover to see two performers just at their absolute best, sparring with each other. So
Well, I'm so glad that you liked it. I am so glad happy about the way it turned out, and I can't wait for the whole world to see it and kind of be taken aback at what low budget movies can do. Is
yeah.
take you into a world and show you something that you wouldn't have otherwise seen. And so I can't wait for people to see it everywhere.
Yeah, absolutely. Again, thank you so much. And yeah, it's premiering the 19th, right?
Yeah, that's right. I think it's American premiere the 19th. I am yet to go to a premiere. I think it'll come to LA in about a month.
Mm.
And we're hearing some distribution news soon, so I'm sure we'll keep
Oh,
you
nice.
abreast of all that.
All right, great. Well, again, thank you so much.
Thank you, Mike.